I know why conversations that are difficult drain you. And it has a lot to do with what's actually going on in the internal conversation. It's less to do with about the words that are being said and even the emotion that's kind of hitting both of one another. It's more to do with what's going on behind the scenes. And we need to talk about that, especially high achieving, successful women that I deal with. Hey, often we might have two, three conversations going on behind the scenes. Let's get into it because we need to talk about how we can rise to become a woman of influence and impact, not control. Sorry, Janet Jackson. We're not trying to be in control of this. Maybe we can control ourselves, but join me in the conversation. We got lots to discuss. Lots to discuss. See if this sounds familiar to you. First, you have the interruption. Then you have the defensive tone. Then there's this sudden feeling of urgency, like this thing that starts to build up in your throat. Then from there, the inability to sit in silence. Ooh, okay. Then from there, the emotions flood. And then the shutdown, the rejection. Sound familiar? I know this. Oh, I know this. I know this. I know this because I am this. I I it's just important for me to be authentic with you and completely transparent because your girl struggles here, which is the reason why it's so easy for me to talk about it because I know what this feels like. You see, often there's a lot of background noise and chatter going on while someone is talking. And often there's this shut off that happens and almost for like protection because if you have this funky person who's giving you some heat in that conversation in that dialogue, it's like the things that you start to do, you start to go into what I like to call the Maslow's hierarchy of defense. All right, and here's the Maslow's. You've heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Then we actually have the same needs when we're actually in conversation with folks, and it goes a little something like this: Am I safe? Right? Am I being respected? And respect, safety is one thing that's just general, right? Respect moves up the hierarchy because some of us can be in conversations with people and not feel respected, but we might feel safe, right? It's two totally different things. Two totally different things. Am I being rejected, right? Am I being controlled, or am I being understood? These are the questions that go through our minds, and rightfully so, because we're human beings. We're not robots. We have emotions, we have feelings, we have thoughts, we have past, we have lived experiences. We have things that happen in our lives that actually compound that when we get into that difficult conversation can make that conversation better or worse. Some of us can hear the same thing that someone has said and have two totally different viewpoints on it, right? I might think, oh, that person's trying to be disrespectful. Oh, that person just said that they were tired and you're just going to end the conversation. And I could have taken that personal, right? And so the whole point in me bringing this conversation to you today is because in order to influence and have impact, we have to dive into what actually is going on behind the scenes. Now, I talk about this a lot because I not only have struggled with this in my marriage. This has been a conversation that I feel like I've, started to have these conversations with my husband, and it seems like I repeat them over and over and over and over again. Some of you have a boss or a manager, a direct report who you have these conversations with, and you can see it spiraling right back into where it was before. But then how do we then get underneath it? What can we do to allow ourselves to have an influence upon the other person or upon ourselves to change the situation, to have a better outcome? So, the goal of this video is to get us to start to understand ourselves during the process, because there's no way that we can control anyone else. We don't have power over people. That's the first issue. You don't control much of anything, right? And that's the reason why, Mike, Janet Jackson says, control, la, 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 control, something. I got to figure out the words. Okay, but all I know is control, right? Ooh, ooh, level. I don't know. Okay, I'm just going to leave that song alone. I should have had the lyrics queued up, but I didn't. But we can't control any of that. All we can begin to do is control ourselves. You see, every single time that you get into a conversation, what shows up first is your character, who you really are, who it is that you are. And I'm going to tell you about myself. I'm spicy. Sometimes I can't stand it when somebody tries to control me. It is so hard for me to deal with people when I feel disrespected, when I feel someone's trying to call me out, when I think someone's trying to like get over on me, or they're being passive aggressive, all the things. And I'm like, right? I'm just like, no, that's not how it works here. Right. And then I'm first to speak something, first to get all spicy. That was my character. And I didn't like that person. I didn't like how she showed up because she was trying to control the situation, trying to control the narrative. Oh, you're not going to get over on me. Because I felt deep in my heart, I was consistently fighting my father. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You're like, oh, here we go with that mumbo jumbo stuff, the woo woo stuff. No, you can woo woo yourself on out of here, because we need to talk real up in this video and tell you what's really going on. Is we got layers upon layers of issues that show up, and your true character shows up in difficult situations. Who you are shows up when the heat is on. I know I got a lot of songs on the streets. Ooh, yeah, the heat is on when you are in these difficult times. That's when we get to see who you truly are, right? And so I started to notice, I'm like, okay, the way you show up with your spouse is the way you show up with other people. You might say, really? Yes, I believe that how you do everything is how you do everything. So, because you can fool some of the people some of the time, but you cannot fool all the people all the time. Who you show up in your relationship with your intimate partner is a reflection of how you show up in others. You might have different identities, but your vibrational energy and your currency that you carry behind the scenes, which is your character, is the same. So you've got to start knowing what's happening with you while you are in a difficult conversation. I like to share with people a framework that I use often. It's called the path to power, purpose, and connection. And we're going to be diving deep into this framework as we begin to talk about influence, as we start talking about impact, because there is a quality of your character that is going to have to be enduring, long suffering. Because in order to impact someone, you have to be passionate about what it is that you're doing. And passion, the very definition of passion, and we're going to dive deep into this later. That's not the full topic of today's video, but passion means that you are willing to suffer for something, that you're willing to endure some difficulties in order to achieve it. So there's some practices in this passion method that you got to get real with. because you think that you want to go out here and change the world, you're going to have to suffer a little bit. You're going to have to be a passionate person. And your character is the first place we have to start. You have to learn yourself. Like, what are your personal triggers? What is it that gets underneath your skin? Why is it that you respond that way? Why do you feel like you're getting ready to lose it when someone does say something to you? You've got to start asking yourself these questions, because once you start getting below the surface of all those things, you will begin to analyze and make yourself your full time job, which is what we're going to have to do in order for us to get deep into this subject. So, if you are following with these authentic power strategies, you have subscribed via LinkedIn to our authentic power strategies. Welcome. You are on YouTube and you have subscribed to these videos. Welcome. It's time for us to dive deep into your character. Who are you? What is it that you value? Who do you most admire? What do you see as being the vision that you have for your life? How do you show up in difficult situations? What is your general temperament? Are you a temperament of a person who has a hopeful, optimistic, purposeful, presence filled mindset? Or are you a person who lives in fear? You're a cynic. You think that things are scarce. You see, there's a temperament, there's a general cadence by the way you live your life. And that cadence will show up in conversations and be disseminated out. And the thing is, you don't even hear it. A lot of you don't hear what it is that you say, and you don't feel and understand what it is that you're putting out into the world, the energy that you're putting out into the world. And you already know this is true, because if you're subscribed to this channel, you know about energy. The path to power, purpose, and connection is basically, and I'm going to see if we can actually put this up here, or at least put it as a link for you to take a look at. The path to power, purpose, and connection is all about energy, these energy fields, right? And they have circles that basically talk about, in order to get to influence, we have to start with character. And once you start to understand your character and who you are, then you start to raise your level of awareness. You start to look for things that you are doing that reflect your character, and you start, oh, wow, I did it again. I keep saying that. Why do I keep saying that? And then you start identifying strategies, tips, tools, tactics that are going to allow you to practice a different way. This is where we lose people, because most people are like, it's too much for me. I can't learn a new way. I'm an old dog. I don't know how to learn new tricks. This is not your community, boo. Okay. We are for the people who are trying to learn and grow within their level of influence, right? So, once we get through character awareness and practice, we can start to deal with how you can create some tools and margin boundaries and practices in your life when people begin to piss you off, right? You have to start doing and practice what I call our passion methodology. So that's a lot for me to give you in one particular session. And we like to keep these videos between about 15 and 20 minutes, but I want to be able to share this with you because we have to start to begin the authentic power of learning ourselves. Because an unexamined life is not a life worth living. That was Aristotle. An unexamined life is not a life worth living. So, like I always like to do, I like to read we give these newsletters out every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday to our Rise 53 Inner Circle folks. And what I want you to do, and I'm going to read this to you, is I want you to begin to do some of the things that I'm going to, and I only have one call to action that I want to share with you today. But I want to see, um, do you stay grounded, curious, and listen, even when people are sharing certain things to you that feel in opposition to you? Or do you start to spiral, get defensive, and prep for emotional survival? Which one do you do? Okay. Yeah. Well, if you are on the side of grounded curiosity and listen, you have an elevated state of biological control, right? That means that you are able to control the functions of what's happening behind the scenes, and you are able to stay consistent in your delivery. This is how conversations are won or lost. This is how agreements are won or lost. And this is how you're able to get to the next level of in any area, whether it's a sport, whether you're trying to learn AI, right? That is stupid. Who does this? Right? These are the people who are not getting to where they need to be. And this is the authentic power that you need to implement. We have to learn how to be grounded. We have to learn how to be curious. Okay, I wonder why you think that, right? And we have to learn how to listen. Various practices that you would think we've mastered as the human experience, but we have not. AI can give us some tips. This video can give you some tips, but you have to learn your general sense of temperament. That's why this is so critical. And this is what I like to call the work, okay? DAHWERK, the work. So, I want to give you a little bit of a coaching corner and what we've been asking our Rise 53 Inner Circle folks to do. Um, what I want you to do is stop focusing on what the other person is doing. Instead, ask, what happens inside of me during emotional conversations? What, and I would love for you to share that in the chat, or excuse me, share it in the comments of what tends to happen to you in difficult conversations. Some of you start crying. Some of you start to, freeze. I like to call it, what the F is going on inside of you? Like, are you a freezer, a fawner, which is a people pleaser, a fleer, you kind of run away from the situation, or a freezer, you just freeze and you don't say anything, right? I call that, what the F is going on inside of you. When you know what the F is going on inside of you, you really start to become more aware. Awareness is the first step. So here's what I want you to do. If you dare, share in the comments, what happens to you? So for me, I start shaking internally. I do. And then I have to remember to breathe. I also have to remember to not say anything, because I'm a first person. I am going to blurt out my first response. I'm going to share it. I don't care who needs it. And I'm going to speak it, and I'm going to say it as long as I need to say it. And I don't like that. It is really hard for me to be curious or even ask the question, how do I even ask it? Like, what is it that made you think like that? And to say it in the right tone, and to say it with a feeling that I want to know. Not that I'm just saying this because this is what Diana said I have to do. No, like literally, I want to know that. This is the practice, y'all, because this is the work. This is what's going to help us become a better influence. Are you picking up what I'm laying down? This is what I hope you journey with me. This is what we're going to be talking about in our Rise 53 Inner Circle this Friday. If you ever say, okay, I need to know more about this Rise 53 Inner Circle, well, I would love for you to join us, but you first have to be a part of the Academy, because the circle is only for Academy graduates. That's why we have to go deep, because we go deep on these type of topics. I can't have people coming into the Rise 53 Inner Circle going, I can't do that. No, this is a requirement, my sis. This is what we do. We go deep. So first things first, I want to make certain that you get information on the Rise Advocates Academy. Whether you want to do it as a cohort or you want to do it individual, we have both options for you. But this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing this in the Rise 53 Inner Circle, but we want to give you the link for those of you who are executive women and you say, I really want to start to get being better as an influence. I want to make an impact. I want to be a legacy maker. This is the work. Because a lot of us just play it safe, right? We just walk away. Oh, no, it's not worth my time. And maybe it's not. But some of you are avoiding conversations because it drains you. And I'm not saying you should be trying to go after a lot of these conversations. I'm just saying I want you to embody yourself while you are in it. This is mastery. This is the work that we are talking about. So I hope that you were able to gather some good nuggets from this, some inspiration and encouragement on how you can begin to show up in these difficult conversations so they don't drain you. And we are going to keep talking through this and how we can continue to be an influence. Does it sound good? Thank you so much for joining me today. Please forward this video to someone who you believe will use it. We're going to be continuing to talk about this in our series called the Influence Series. We've been last month, if you want to go back to some of these old videos, we were talking about patterns and pattern repetition, pattern utilization, and then how we can create new patterns. And great new pattern that you can create is how to be a better influence, how to be a woman of influence and impact. All right. Thank you so very much. Please like and subscribe this video. If you say, Diana, I would love to hear more about this, would love to do that. And by the way, just so you know, I already know a lot of you all are asking me about lifting weights, biology, how are you getting yourself fit? Because I'm doing my bodybuilding competition. Stay tuned. We're going to be diving into those topics as well. All right. Thank you so much. And I will see you in the next video.